Okay, so I remember my grade 12 year. I won't lie to you, I found it really disgusting how grade 12s in my high school would go for grade 9. Like, you guys know the age gap of like 4 years is pretty disgusting, especially if you're under 18. And honestly, I will say this much as well. Let's just say some guys are so ruthless to the point where they're willing to go for such a young woman. And me, I'm not gonna lie, I have a really common rule, and that is 2 years younger or 1 year older. You never go more than that. Or actually, when it comes to older women, it's not that bad. I should know, I have many experiences with that. But today's story goes a little insane, so drop a like and subscribe, and let's just get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story, like I said, takes place back in grade 12. Now, in grade 12, I remember there was a lot of grade 9s entering my high school, and grade 9s are usually around what, the age of 14, 15. And as a grade 12, I thought it was disgusting going for that age group of women because, like, let's be real here, it's kind of gross. But one thing in my high school is that I won't lie to you, it's really hard to determine whose age is actually what. Let's be real here, guys. We're in 2023. Women that are like literally 12 look like they're 19. As scary as it is, you never know what age is what, and it really freaks me out. And 80% of the time when I go out to like a party or a club or anything, I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes I feel like I need my own ID scanner to make sure they're actually of age, or I'm gonna be in jail. Like, literally any day now, the cops could come into my door and be like, FBI, open up, and I would die physically and mentally. Anyways, I remember my grade 12 year. I remember we were going to our new classes, and a lot of the grade 12s were talking about all the new grade 9s and the new shoddies that are in there. I don't like using the word shoddy, but if you guys are from, like, you know, any sort of slang land, then you would understand what I'm talking about. But for me, I was really uninterested. I found it totally disgusting, like I said earlier, and I remember I kind of just avoided all the conversations that had to do with, well, little girls, because like I said, I'm not a freak, bro. Like, I understand I like Minecraft and I play Minecraft, but I'm not a freak. Anyways, going on from there, I remember basically one time in my science lab, I remember going in there and I ended up sitting down on a desk. And then afterwards, when class actually started, the teacher came in front of the classroom and said, okay, class, so today we have a new student. She just came here and she is going to be joining us for our new science class. Now, I didn't know who this was because she came a week late apparently to school, but when she came into the classroom, she looked like any ordinary grade 12. Now, remember, this was science 12, by the way. I should probably mention this was like a science lab 12 class, so only grade 12s could take this class. But I remember she ended up coming to the classroom, and since she was in the same class as me, I automatically thought she was the same age as me because, you know, it's high school. Like, it's not normal for very young people to go into, well, an older setting, if that makes any sense. I remember I ended up seeing her and I thought she was actually pretty attractive. Now, before I continue on with the story, I just want to say, cops, FBI, or anyone that has to do with catching pedos, I just want to say I was in high school. Just hear the story out before you guys send cops coming down my door, okay? Thank you. Anyways, I remember I found her pretty attractive and I thought, hey, like, maybe I should go, like, you know, talk to her and kind of like see what's up. So I ended up walking up to her and I ended up basically saying, hey, like, how you doing? Like, I think you look pretty good. She looks over at me really oddly and she's like, thanks, I appreciate it. Now, clearly she was really awkward when it came to conversation, and I'm not gonna lie, she kind of handled it prematurely. At the time, I wasn't really registering that, but let's just say she acted really odd around me. And I remember, to save myself, I kind of just ended up like basically saying like, hey, like, if you need any help with like the homework or anything, I could help you with that. When I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea 80% of the time what happened in that science class, but you know what? As long as it got me out of the situation, I didn't care. Anyways, after that weird interaction, I remember I sat back at my desk and my friend ended up coming up behind me saying, yo, bro, you interested in her or what? I remember I looked over at him like, what do you mean? Well, bro, like, I don't know, you made fun of us for going for girls. And that's when I told him, bro, you guys go for grade 9s, bro. I'm not going for a grade 9. And that's when I went back to work. And I remember he ended up rolling his eyes at me and we both went back to work. Now, I remember at this point, I really did not know what to do or say. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of couldn't take my eyes off this girl. She was really beautiful, and honestly, like, she had this like really nice like young look to her. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, I know what I'm explaining sounds really creepy and weird, but just keep listening to the story. Anyways, I remember in that class, we ended up getting a science project where we had to group up with people. And since I was the only person that interacted with this girl on her first day of our science class, she actually ended up coming up to me saying, I was just wondering, like, can you maybe be my partner for this? I don't really know anyone in the class. I remember I looked at her and said, yeah, sure, like, I wouldn't mind. I could help you out with it. And me and her became partners for that science lab. Now, me, since I'm a hopeless romantic, I kind of saw this in a flirty way and in a more, you know, romantic way of how, like, you know, she's approaching me and I'm like her knight in shining armor, gonna help her with some like science lab stuff. I shouldn't be doing that hand gesture, but going on. I remember from there, I ended up basically getting her number and her Snapchat, and then one thing led to another. Me and her, we ended up basically communicating throughout the day. Now, I was talking to her throughout the day and stuff, and I ended up basically like, you know, just talking to her. I didn't search her up on any other social medias, nothing. Anyways, I remember after school came around, and I basically ended up going to the parking lot and jumping into my car, and one of my friends needed a ride, so I ended up driving him home. And on the way home, I remember I ended up telling him about this girl and how, like, you know, she's really hot, really pretty, and all this stuff, and I ended up saying her name. When I said her name, I remember my friend looked at me saying, wait, bro, you're actually interested in her? That's kind of weird, bro. I ended up asking him why, and he's like, well, I don't know, like, you just met her, and like, on top of that, like, dude, she's new to the school. Yeah, I know she's a newbie, like, that's nothing the problem with it. I'm just saying, like, she's a hot girl in my grade 12 science class. He ended up kind of shrugging it off, but he ended up failing to mention the one thing, and that one thing could have led me to jail. I remember after I dropped him off, I ended up going home, and I ended up hopping on my Xbox and just playing video games for that night. Obviously, I had schoolwork to do, but I really did not care about school my grade 12 year, which was really not a good idea because, well, if I actually focused in school, I probably could have been a lawyer, a judge, or, you know, something more important than being a YouTuber. But you guys make this job worth it, so please like and subscribe so I can keep doing this and not wanting to absolutely hang myself. I can't say that. Sorry, my bad. Keep going. Anyways, going on. I remember as I was playing Xbox, I ended up getting a Snapchat from this girl, the girl from my science lab, and I ended up basically, like, you know, messaging her back, and me and her were snapping back and forth. And then out of nowhere, I basically decided to be flirtatious once again and see if I can, you know, maybe, you know, spit some riz, as people say nowadays. And as I was talking to her, I remember I ended up basically saying how, like, you know, she was really attractive today at school. One thing led to another. After flirting back and forth, she ended up sending me a photo of her cherries. I thought this was good at first. I thought it was like, okay, cool. This girl, like, you know, she's 10 out of 10. And then I remember she ended up telling me to come over. Now, at this point, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was like 9:30 at night. Apparently, she had no one home. And I thought, you know what? Might be a great opportunity to, you know, do the devil's tango. Because in grade 12, I was still a major player. So I remember I ended up basically getting my things, getting ready, and I ended up driving to her place. When I got to her place, I remember she lived in a really nice place, and she actually lived in a really cool, like, area. Like, she lived in, like, one of those, like, you know, rich kid areas. Like, you know, like, rich people live there, bro. And then I remember I ended up basically parking my car in front of her house. I ended up walking up to her door, and I knocked on it. Once I entered inside the house, I remember I ended up looking around and stuff, and I saw that she was an only child. And as I was walking around, I remember I ended up seeing a photo on the wall of her middle school graduation. Now, if you guys don't know what middle school graduation is, because a lot of people don't have middle school in some countries, comment down below if you guys have middle school. But basically, middle school is the years of grades 6 to 8. And when I saw her middle school graduation from, you know, leaving middle school and, like, you know, moving on from grade 8 to grade 9, I saw that she looked exactly, and I mean exactly the same as a grade 8. At this point, I remember I looked at it and I'm like kind of like shaking. I really got scared because I'm like, wait a second, how old is this girl? And then afterwards, I remember one thing led to another. I ended up going into her bedroom, and once I saw a bunch of squishmallows, that's when I knew this girl was probably not of age. I remember she ended up pushing me on the bed, and she wanted to, you know, grab my eggplant, and that's when I'm like, whoa, real quick, just real quick. How old are you? She looks up at me as if I was crazy and said, I'm 14. Why? What? I remember at that moment, I ran out of there so quick. Like, I'm not joking. I literally got up and literally went straight for the door. I went out the door, out like the main entrance door, and I went straight to my car and drove away. I remember she ended up calling my phone on the drive home. She's like, why did you leave? Like, what was that about? Like, seriously? Like, why do you gotta be such a jerk? And at that moment, I told her, I'm 18. I can't be caught lacking with a 14-year-old, bro. Like, seriously, this is some EDP kind of stuff. I remember she looked at me like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal? Like, bro, my mind couldn't register what she was saying, and I was totally disgusted. And I remember I drove back home, and since that night, I'm not joking, I'm going to ID every woman that comes into my way, which I'm not gonna lie, nowadays I always ask for age first, or hopefully it says it on their Instagram bio, which, by the way, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's video. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.